Austin, I read that you were not so familiar with motorcycle before this movie. Was Jeff aware of this when he approached you about the role?
When I was a kid, my dad rode motorcycles. So I was on his motorcycle as a kid. And then there's been times in my life, like even when I was in Australia doing Elvis, there was a guy that I became friends with who owned a coffee shop. And every day that I'd get coffee, he had this different motorcycle outside of this coffee shop.
Awesome.
And they were these old Harleys. And I would get into conversations with him. And then eventually he said, you know, yeah, I fix up these bikes. And so I started riding with him in Australia.
Oh.
Way before I knew that I was even going to be a part of this. So it's been this part of my life for a while. Although I did train particularly for this because these bikes they each have their own personality, and they're very old, and so they don't really want to stop when you press the brakes and that sort of thing. So I got very used to that.
Do you still ride?
Yeah, I do.
Jeff, in movie industry, is common to adapt books. Much less frequent is the adaptation of photojournalistic works as the Bikeriders. What are the differences between your characters and the ones captured by Danny Lyon?
Well, the truth is, Danny Lyon only interviewed these people in 1965. They're snapshots, really, of where they were at in that year. So the biggest fictionalization that happened was I had to expand that, to show the breadth of this decade of change. So, I'm taking Kathy's interview and breaking it into 3 parts. And that act alone is an act of fictionalizing, where you're saying she's in the laundromat in 1965 and she's about a year into this club and a year into a relationship with Benny, and things are very kinetic. The whole thing's filmed handheld. The dialogue starts immediately. She's in the middle of a sentence when we start. Then she's in her bedroom and on her front porch in 1969. Now it's still handheld, but it's very still. And now Kathy's starting to be more introspective. That's where she says, I used to be respectable. And that's when she's starting to really come to terms with where she's at and what the club's becoming. And there's 1973. The camera's on a tripod the entire time. It doesn't shake. It doesn't move at all. And she is in a much different emotional space. She's been on the other side of this club now and saw the consequences of the decisions she made in her life. So just that act alone is an example for your question, is fictionalization. It's why if somebody walked up to me and said, hey, did you make a movie about my parents? I'd say, no. I made a movie inspired by some amazing things that they said in 1965, and then I made the rest up.
That's it. Thank you very much, guys.
You did a great job.
Great job.
You're going to be really good at that.
Yeah.